take the measurement and write it down as you go. So these are the 10 measurements you're going to need. Come here, Jasper. Okay, I'm going to try to measure our little friend here. All right, sit still. So this is Jasper. He's a part beagle, part pointer. He's about the size of a pointer. So I'm going to show you how to measure. Help me do this, okay? I know, sweetie. All right, okay. We'll give you this when we're done. Withers to the bottom of the rib cage. Okay, we're going to try to do this quick. So here's the withers. I'll go back a little bit. Sit still, honey. Down to the fattest part of his rib cage. You know, maybe we'll go back because his leg's in the way. But, you know, if he were standing still, I'd be able to measure it. All right, let's try giving him the treat. But stay here, okay? Next, prosternum, across to the shoulder bone. The prosternum is a bumpy, sort of his bone right in the middle, okay? There, and his shoulder bone is the bumpy bone here, kind of in the front. It's not the shoulder, this is his shoulder. Here's the shoulder bone, it's kind of in front. So that's the front part of his body. So that's that measurement, from that bone to that bone. Measurement 3 is the shoulder bone across to the point below the withers. Come here, sweetie. Come over this way. Come on. The shoulder bone. All right, you want to lie down? The shoulder bone again. Across to the point below the withers, which is usually about halfway in the middle of his front leg. See, there's this perpendicular point. So his withers, take that measurement from here to here, which is at the same height as this bone, perpendicular. Okay, thank you, Jasper. That was not the best model I've ever had, but at least you're a nice good boy. He's a very good boy. Okay, so as you see, I have a very thick piece of cardboard here. This is how I'm doing it. There's so many different ways, but you come up with the way that works best for you. You have to be resourceful, use what you have at home. And here I've got some old wrapping paper, gift wrapping paper. I'm going to use this as my paper today. What I do is I'll just pin it. Instead of using tape this time, since I have the cardboard underneath, I'll just pin it into place, and I'll pin the pattern pieces into place. Take the bottom front piece of the pattern and find the point where the two darts meet. This is the shoulder bone point. Adhere the pattern piece to your sheet of pattern paper. Use a pin to poke through the center, use a pin to poke through the shoulder point so that the paper behind the pattern is marked, because you'll need that point later. And now with a ruler, you're measuring from the shoulder point along the front dart towards the prosternum point, that bone in the front, and you mark the measurement you took from your pet. And now you take the ruler and measure from the shoulder point straight back to the point below the withers. You've done that. That'll be measurement number 3 on the worksheet. A simple way to do this is to just take the top front piece of the pattern and line it up with the bottom front piece. Then use the vertical withers indicator line as a guide. Slide the piece back so that the line aligns with the correct measurement. And you mark that point with your pencil. So now you've got it at the right horizontal placement. And now what you'll do is you'll place your ruler vertically onto the marked point, that one you just marked, so that the coat length measurement, which is your measurement number 1, is lined up with the bottom of the pattern. So you slide the top front piece upwards so that the withers indicator line is even along the top and side of edge of the ruler. So just adhere that front piece onto the pattern paper. And you can check the correct placement of the top front piece now by measuring the withers down to the shoulder bone point height. That's measurement number 4 in your worksheet. So the measurement should closely match what's already written on the worksheet. Now all you're doing is you're measuring along the top, which is the withers to the tail dock, and that's pretty straightforward. That's measurement number 5. You just draw the line, and you're going to put that back top pattern piece, aligning it. I didn't put it on in the video, but that's where you would put that. Now what I'm doing here is I'm doing the collar measurement, withers to the collar on the top, about where you want the collar to end on your dog's neck. I like the edge of it to go kind of up my dog's neck towards his ear. I don't like the collar to be so short. See, now in hindsight I forgot the instructions don't exactly match my video, but this is what you should have done after measuring the line. But it doesn't matter what order you do it in, as long as you do it at some point. See, you've lined up the tail dock point with the end. And now I should have put that dotted line again earlier. I put it in the video, I did it after the fact, but that dotted line is going up from the prosternum point straight up, just so you now can swivel the ruler to the correct measurement for the neck. That's where his head's going to go through, and that's the part what is going to be around his neck, right there. And then if you've done it exactly perfectly, the prosternum should be approximately at the right location, which is sometimes at the middle of the dart. I find it's better for the prosternum point to be at the top of the dart, because when you close the dart, it leaves the coat being a little bit longer. But as long as it's more or less, unless you want an exactly perfect coat, that dart should be swiveling always at the shoulder point. That's the main concern. And now just draw straight on down the front of the coat. That's going to be the front. You can sort of imagine it in your head now, what the coat is starting to look like. Okay, and we're getting now to the bottom part. I'm trying to follow along with the instructions, but they don't, again, remember the instructions that are written with the pattern don't exactly match this video. And now you just are basically designing the rest of the coat according to your, how you would like the shape to be. Female dogs can usually get away with having a longer coat towards the back, since they squat when they go out rather than lifting a leg. Or even male dogs who squat, as you know, if you have a male dog who's neutered, they're still shooting in a different direction than female dogs do. So male dogs are a little more difficult to sew a coat for. You've got to be a little more exact, and each dog has a different method, if you know what I'm trying to say. So for male dogs, which is Jasper's a male, I'm making the coat kind of shorter in the back. And I didn't even use the bottom back piece in this video. It's just kind of stuck there. I didn't even bother to cut them apart. But if you have a very, very, very large dog, you might even want to cut those two pieces apart and move them to move the down or up, or however you like. But this is the point where you're the designer. I'm no longer spoon feeding you the instructions. Some of those pieces I should have cut out earlier. Again, I'm going backwards here. Maybe it was just laziness. I didn't cut the pieces completely out. For a smaller dog, sometimes you use that excess paper around the pattern in order to tape. If it's not so far apart, you can still use it, and you don't need to get a separate sheet of paper. Here I'm extending the darts, because since the dog is larger, and I also want the darts to go past the point of the edge of the coat, so when I true the darts, I'll be able to see clearly where I need to true them. And the front prosternum piece actually did move a bit, and I used the twisted twirling dart, I call it. I made that up, but the twirling dart. So now I don't need any more. I've already marked the shoulder point with the pin. You don't see it here, but I poked a pin through that point, so I know where the shoulder point is. You can't lose your place. That's the important thing, especially the shoulder point, which is right in the middle of the pattern. You've got to find a way to mark it so you don't lose your place when you pull off the pattern pieces. And the rest of the pattern is just writing the darts in again, drawing in the darts again, because you've removed the original pattern piece. So now you're going to end up with your own pattern that you've made to your dog. There I made a mistake with the dart. Disregard that. I had to redraw it there in the video. You know, use a cheaper material the first try, and then, you know, many actual real designers, you know, people who design clothes will often do that. It's a method that designers use. They'll make the first article in muslin, which is a less expensive fabric. You can get it for like $3.99 a yard. Pre-wash it, and then, you know, any mistakes they make on the first try, they can adjust that, you know, try it on the dog and adjust it so it'll, you know, make another pattern for the second try. I do that all the time. In this case, I think the first try is going to work, so I'm going to go straight to the fabric that I'll be using. And here I'm just cutting it out. This is the base pattern. It's not including the seam allowances. Bear in mind, this is the exact measurements. So obviously when you sew, it's going to shrink. It's going to be smaller because you're going to be taking off the seam. You know, when you sew, it'll be eating up part of the fabric. So when you cut it, we're going to be cutting it with the seam allowance. You will add that on when you cut it. And then it should be the right size. And another thing you can do once you've finished cutting out your pattern and truing the darts, it'll be in 3D form in paper. You'll have half the pattern. Kind of put it on your dog, like put it up against your dog. Just, you can even kind of tell if it looks sort of okay, like it will fit at that point. Now we're going to look up the measurement. That's approximately where the belt is going to go. The belt, the wraparound belt that I use for this pattern, which of course you can choose to not do that and maybe do a, you know, a belt that ties up on the bottom or the side. I like to wrap it fully around and then put a button on the end so that it stays snug. Anyway, in any case, the belt is going to start a little bit behind the bottom dart there. And it will end wherever you want it to, but thicker straps usually keep the coat from flopping around in the back. So I'm going to mark it there. That's where I'll be putting the belt approximately. It's just a rectangular. I don't even have a pattern for the belt because the belt is just a long rectangular piece of fabric that you make as long or as short as you need for your particular dog. So you've taken the circumference of his back portion, so you know you'll estimate how much you need. And what I'm doing here is, this is the collar piece. If you'd like to make a collar, you see I put the collar at the bottom, and now I'm making it the correct size for this particular pattern. I may or may not end up using the collar on Jasper, or what I'm probably going to do is cut out the collar as a single piece on the pattern, which I think that's what I'm going to do in this case. But I have another video where I made it for my other dog, a smaller dog, where I show how the collar's attached. But I'll put a link to that one. at the end of this video if you want to see how to attach the collar separately. But I think I'll be adding the collar in, or you might decide not to use a collar at all and just make the coat. I think the collar makes it look a little more elegant and finished. Alright, and now we'll be cutting out the pattern. Okay, and I've got to decide which one I'm going to actually use. I kind of drew 3 lines there, as you can see. I've chosen the shorter line after all, because Jasper lifts his leg and I want to give him a lot of clearance. Now when you cut it out, leave the darts. Don't cut the darts quite yet, because this is what we're going to do. We're going to true the darts. So watch what I'm doing here. See, I straightened out that line. So rather than a straight line now, you'll see once I cut it, it's going to have a different shape. So watch this. And look how it looks once I've cut through. It's changed shape, so it's not a straight line when it's flat, but when you fold it, it becomes a straight line.